My name is Mackenzie Bay, and this is my Educated Citizen portfolio for the BSN program. So I'm going to begin to talk about the public issue that I did choose for my capstone. Human trafficking kind of accounts for a large issue here in Nebraska and kind of overall accounts for a large issue in our society today. So here are just kind of a couple statistics to kind of get you more aware of the prevalent issue that we do have in our society today. Knowing that human trafficking does account for around $150 billion a year, which creates it to be among the second largest criminal industry in the world behind drug trade, which is absolutely huge in thinking about how large of a problem this is in society today. And an estimated 20 to 40 million people have fallen a victim of the human trafficking, and 24.9 million people are victims of forced labor, which fall underneath the human trafficking category. I kind of reflect, and think, why did I choose this as my public issue? How does this relate to me? And it kind of just stems from being a female living in an area where it does happen a lot. We live along I-80, I-29. Those are really main travel routes that kind of create better access for human trafficking. And, the prevalence of it in this society and in Nebraska itself is very large. We have the College World Series, we have the Olympic swim trials, we have, the outlet mall. We have a lot of areas where we have high traffic that allows human trafficking to occur. And when I think about, why is this important to me to educate myself on it, to educate others, and how this kind of relates back into my core curriculum, it's just overall getting the knowledge and the appropriate education out there where this does happen. I have had numerous people that I know who have witnessed human trafficking happen to them in the area of Omaha that it is today. And that's kind of why I did choose to focus on the public issue of human trafficking itself. Now, when I go into my Educated Citizen and I think about, the core curriculum that it has, what are the goals, it kind of trends back to my public issue. And so when I have my core curriculum here of the Educated Citizen, the first goal here that we have is the reflective individual. A reflective individual routinely engages in habits of inquiry that influences ways of thinking and action. So one of my first experiences kind of adapting to the role of a reflective individual kind of began during my junior year in my advanced med-surg class, where we went to a hospice house where we were able to get a closer look of, end of life, those experiencing end of life, and family members who are kind of there partaking with the care of their loved one. The lessons I learned here kind of reflected upon the individual role itself, where I was able to kind of engage that care kind of goes beyond just the individual. And I was able to kind of take the situation and reflect upon that and kind of identify where does the care need to go from there. Yes, it does go to the individual, but it kind of needs to go beyond that individual at that point, where I would have never known that if I didn't experience it and reflect upon how can I give better care to this patient. So it was able to kind of also allow me to handle family members and comforting of those who do experience end of life. I was able to take each experience and kind of enhance and grow on the care that I did provide to kind of overall allow me to give better care. Now, in application to my public issue of why this specific experience kind of reflected upon myself and fit into the needs of my public issue, it's just kind of learning that fitting the needs of a human trafficking victim, of those who are at risk of being human trafficked, kind of learning how to therapeutically care for that individual in a different perspective, it kind of allows to enhance the care. So learning how to care the first time and kind of building upon that is kind of the application of where we need to go in the sense of human trafficking. Now, my second reflective individual had to be one of my most favorites, where I spent a couple hours, almost about 5, on the phone with my grandma, kind of completing a project about her life experiences, kind of what made her who she is today. I learned kind of how her life experience shaped her into the individual she is today, how certain situations have built in her life to make her life the way it is today. I've reflected on, how the situations affected her behavior, her thought process, her way of life, and how she chooses to live. And in application to that of the human trafficking issue is that with an individual who might be at risk for human trafficking, reflecting upon their situations of, what is their home like? Are they in a low income area? Are they victims of domestic violence, of sexual assault? Are they in foster care? Kind of looking at those overall areas that might put them at risk for allowing for situations to occur like human trafficking. So this kind of allowed me to educate and kind of go into the idea that there is needing to be support upon the reflective of why situations occur to leading to human trafficking. So the second one of the core goals of an educated citizen is an effective communicator. And an effective communicator kind of uses critical thinking to generate, to connect, and to organize, ideas in an oral and nonverbal manner. So I think this was a really great experience that I had. It was my first time caring for a patient who was nonverbal following a stroke. The patient was very difficult adapting to their new way of life, not being able to communicate. There was a bunch of frustration, there was anger, and I had to care for this patient. And I really, really, really grew into the role of this effective communicator. And I kind of learned that setting aside those judgments and pre-notions of the person, and kind of just overall allowed me to be willing to communicate with the patient. There was people that didn't want to go care for this patient because they were rude and they were aggressive and whatnot. And so setting aside that judgment that they're a horrible person or they're terrible to take care of, and just going in there and treating them like a patient, kind of allowed me to better build upon the communication skills I had with this patient. And ultimately also is looking at those nonverbal cues. What is their body language? What hand gestures are they doing? What is their emotion on their face? And I kind of learned how to pick up with that over time. And the situation really helped build me to learn that nonverbal is a very strong form of communication. And so in relation of my public issue, looking at individuals who traveling along I-80, people at rest stops, people in malls with other individuals. You see all the time people on airplanes sitting next to an individual, kind of looking at those body languages. Are they uncomfortable? Are they unsafe? And when we're caring for patients where we suspect that abuse or human trafficking is occurring, it's important to really focus on those nonverbal cues, that body language, just as much as it is the subjective data that we collect, because it allows us to effectively communicate with the individual and knowing their needs and wants. And along with that, my second effective communicator experience was at Community Alliance. This was an absolutely great place to kind of enhance overall group communication, learning how, communicating along with a group really helps motivate a lot of communication of support and needs and all sorts of stuff. And so when I attended Community Alliance, it was very impactful, as it was a safe space for people where they felt heard and they felt like they were ready to be educated on areas where they needed to be educated. And so I kind of learned that, those effective communications are enhanced through people who share the similar goals and needs, as long as, being an active listener is a very, very strong form of effective communication. And I think that this experience very, very, very well ties into my public issue, because with the support groups out there, like the Omaha Women's Fund and the Sienna Francis House and all other organizations that help with human trafficking victims, for people who are at risk, support groups are a strong area where those individuals need to learn and educate themselves on preventing human trafficking and finding the resources they need. And I think that this helped really tie in to learn where the effective communicator is a very prevalent goal and aspect to have as an individual. And so that kind of ties into my last, my change agent, which is basically developing cultural competence and taking appropriate initiative to create an effective change. So at Nebraska Methodist College, my first experience with the change agent is that I joined student government here my senior year. I learned that, changes are the most impactful when it's driven from internal motivation of yourself, and that there's a drive to make innovative changes when you create a pathway for change. So setting people up with the resources they need helps promote a larger change than it does when you don't have those resources, where you don't push the knowledge and the resources upon those individuals. And that kind of tied into my application of human trafficking, where if you're not pushing those pathways where they're able to make the change, it's never going to be made. We're never going to reach those people who are at risk and who do need help with human trafficking, in the sense of, vulnerability and victimizing of the crime. And so I think that making those pathways and helping, educate them to make those changes. Lastly is the change agent of COVID-19 in 2020. I feel like this is very, very, very prevalent to anyone who talks about their educated citizen. And it just overall changed the way I worked in healthcare and in my everyday life. And so this kind of allowed myself to be more open-minded and enhance my readiness to make change, and basically change my attitude towards the way that, I was willing to take in change. And it kind of allowed me to have more support towards others, in the sense of creating a more positive attitude. And so this kind of ties into the application of from human trafficking, because, creating a positive and open mindset kind of allows overcoming obstacles to become easier. So in the sense of human trafficking programs, and, policies, initiatives, and everything, the attitude that us individuals, around us that create towards, human trafficking, to the programs, to education, to policies and laws, that kind of furthers, the negative actions further us away from the goals of promoting, education towards promoting, not that it doesn't happen, that it doesn't occur in our area today. And so I think that being more open and positive towards change allows for, larger impacts and succeeding towards your goals. And so reflecting on my becoming an individual, big educated citizen, throughout my time at Nebraska Methodist and all my opportunities that the college has presented me with, I was able to learn and grow and establish all the offerings of what it meant to be an educated citizen. My growth of being an educated citizen can be highly attributed to the process that I have made to my goals of, becoming an effective communicator, a change agent, and a reflective individual. And through all my 3 core goals and engagement, I have really involved myself into a competent and engaged citizen that will allow me, to adhere to the complex dynamics and perspectives within healthcare field, and making me excel within my nursing career. So the overall curriculum and the goals that Nebraska Methodist has set me up to grow and develop has really, really helped educate me to become a more engaged member in my society, and to look on the issues that I myself can implement for change and for communication, to make growth and reflect upon anything that I can to make myself just a better educated citizen.